Hi everyone, welcome back to Off the Cuff Clarinet, a YouTube series about pretty much anything you can think about relating to the clarinet and clarinet playing. So where I live right now, the weather has been absolute garbage this week. I don't think the sun has come out in 5 or 6 days, and it's been really humid and rainy, and my reeds just, despite really good humidity control systems, are just not cooperating sometimes. And I've got one right here that's actually just feels really like it doesn't want to play. Kind of not quite stuffy, but also it's not a balance issue. And I've checked that, and if you haven't seen my previous video on this, I would check this out in terms of how to feel if your reed is balanced. But just in a very basic sense, feels pretty even from side to side. But it's just kind of not speaking right. Try to start a very soft note, and the sound doesn't go right away. It doesn't have that immediate response. You kind of have to bite the sound in, and there's a problem with that. And that just leads us to using way more jaw pressure than we need to when we're playing the instrument. Now, again, jaw pressure in and of itself is not bad. There's a minimum amount you need to set the embouchure effectively, but it's the difference between, a solid handshake with someone else, but don't go shaking people's hands right now with COVID and everything, and a sort of death grip handshake where it's like you're trying to break the other person's hand, and don't do that either. But you can hear in this, if I'm just trying to play, I've been practicing this beginning of Luciano Beari's lead for a clarinet solo, and it starts on an open G triple piano. See how on that, the sound doesn't speak right away. It's almost like there's a point where there's nothing, and then all of a sudden, then it just sort of kicks into overdrive. So what it tells me is that the reed is not vibrating right off the bat as soon as there's air going. And again, I've checked the balance on this reed. It feels okay from left to right. So in general, it's just a little too resistant. So this is my kind of go-to adjustment when the reed feels balanced from left to right, but it's just resistant to play. And again, it's not radically too hard. It's not like this feels like a 4 when it should be a 3.5 or anything like that, but it's just a little like you just need to give a little more juice right off the bat, or bite the response in with the embouchure, which is bad. So I'm using my Reed Geek again. Use your tool of choice. But what I like to do is just some long scrapes down the spine of the reed, kind of the full length of the reed. And again, just to make sure you don't take too much off, especially if you're kind of just getting into reed adjusting, I do recommend, it's not very exact, but some light pencil marks just to make sure that you don't take too much cane off immediately. That should do the trick. I felt when I was doing that, I didn't get quite into the tip enough, so I'm going to just kind of go into the tip with a little edge right here. There's old kind of this reed adjusting adage that says, don't touch the heart of the reed. But the heart of the reed, that's, we kind of define that as, at least maybe, I don't know, roughly that portion of the reed right there. And it's like, that affects the vibrations just as much as anything else. So if we're trying to improve a reed's performance, we should go in and really adjust that. But anyway, so we've got the reed kind of shaved down a bit here in the center. So that already feels a lot better in terms of the overall response. I think there's more we can keep doing with it. And since a lot of that work in the opening strokes was toward the kind of back of the reed, along the spine, that heart area, if you will, I'm gonna go a little further up this time. And for this, I usually like a flat service. The way I go about reed making is I find that in general, the center of the reed is more about overall resistance levels that we experience when we play, and the rails or the edges are more about the overall response in terms of individual notes, tone color. And one of my favorite tests for the overall resistance level of a reed is just to pick a note. We'll use open G since that's what I've been using so far today. But just kind of without using the tongue at all, how gently and how precisely and controlled can you fade a note in from nothing? So that's already feeling a lot better. I think there's still a little more to do with it, so I'm just going to kind of keep working at the tip. And if you're wondering why I'm working at the tip right now, that's, again, for another video down the road. Suffice it to say that having worked on enough reeds, I have a feeling that this is going to need a little more tip material removal. And again, remember, you can't put the material back on, so go slowly, especially if you're starting out. So that's already getting a much clearer and more controlled response, especially in the softer dynamic. It has that sort of immediacy to the sound. And all I did at a fundamental level with this reed, just remove the material along sort of the spine, or again, that heart area of the reed. Again, removing material from the heart is not a bad thing in and of itself. You just have to balance it with what you're doing on the rest of the reed. I hope you found this video on reed adjustments helpful. I'm looking forward to doing more reed adjustment discussion down the road. So if you want to make sure you catch all those videos, be sure to hit subscribe at the bottom. And if you have anything you'd like to see on a future episode, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on social media, leave a comment below. And thanks for watching. Have fun working on those reeds.